or is it about right? Start your day with my free newsletter, and you'll always be tech ahead at getkim.com. Title theft is a growing real estate scam targeting the $32 trillion in American homeowners' equity. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and file with your county. Then, your home's title and its equity are in the hands of a criminal. So when is the last time you checked your home title? If you're like me, the answer is never. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. Use my promo code Kim at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report to find out if your title is still in your name. When you sign up, you'll also receive a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and if fraud should happen, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. Your satisfaction is guaranteed, and you can cancel anytime. Go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code Kim for the protection you deserve.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 27 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
Well, good morning, Central Louisiana. Welcome to Friday Talkback, or Talkback on Friday. Nathan Martin here with you with special guest Friday host, Matt Ritchie. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Nathan.
How are you doing?
Good. You know, I've done this once or twice in the last 5 years that I've been doing this show. So when Al asked me to do it, and especially with you on, I was excited. With you being on this morning, I was excited to do this.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited, too. It's my first time to do it with you. And I told you a few minutes ago, we're going to have a rule, no real estate talk in the first hour, because we have to save it all for the second hour.
You know how tough that's going to be?
You're like, well, I got nothing to talk about, right? I'm just kidding.
Well,
I mean, if it comes up, it comes up.
If it comes up, well, we'll try not to. We'll try to save it all till 8 o'clock.
Well, and part of the reason for that is I know Dave likes to use your segment on the Saturday repost, and so we want all the good information in that 1 hour segment. So the Cenla economic update coming up in hour number 2, because you weren't able to be here Tuesday, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But first, let me just let folks know that we have a really good show today. Of course, Matt here makes it a good show. And then in hour 2, we'll have his full economic update to talk about all the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks locally here in Central Louisiana. But we do have at 7:30, we're going to have a special call by Robert Rigdon, who is the president and CEO of SunGas. And there's been a lot of talk about that product, that project in Pineville, the old IP site, questions about where is it in the process, what will they be producing, and then locally lately there's been a lot of questions about carbon sequestration. So we're going to give him the opportunity to share the genesis of this project, what they are producing, where it goes, what it will do for the economy, and we'll ask him what type of carbon sequestration capture will they be doing, and try to get a chance to have that conversation with him. It won't be as deep a conversation as we would like. Next week they'll actually have someone in studio from SunGas to come and talk, and they'll be able to talk about it more in depth. But this was kind of an opportunity to get the actual president and CEO in to kind of a high level, 10,000, 30,000 foot view of that SunGas opportunity. So we want to have that conversation with him.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, because I feel like as I mentioned a minute ago, when you start talking about carbon sequestration, carbon capture, you start talking about all those things, and I'm a real estate guy. I'm a bricks and mortar dirt guy, and so when you start talking about those other things, and I know I've been watching this project, and it's been talked about for years. We've had other projects in the area. Been discussed for years, but I'll be honest with you, with just reading up on both sides and what the arguments, the pros and cons of it, I just feel like a big dummy, because you don't really know exactly what's going on, and you hear things, and you hear people that you respect and people that you enjoy and think that they, but this, and then the folks that are bringing it to us, do we have the real picture? Do we have the real end result of what's actually going to happen? Because I don't think anybody knows. And if they do know, If it's negative, we're certainly not going to hear about it.
Right. Well, and I want to thank the folks from SunGas for making themselves available. I know there will be plenty of hearings or opportunities next Monday night. We had Melody Slocum in last week, or earlier this week, I think on Wednesday, to talk about a public hearing Monday night at 6 o'clock out at Philadelphia Baptist Church. They'll be talking about this. I believe there will be some SunGas officers in studio next week. The more conversation, the better, because the better we can understand this, it's helps us all have an opportunity to speak and share perspective and get questions answered. So again, grateful to Robert Rigdon for coming in.
Yeah, no doubt. But frankly, Nathan, if you think about it, when this SunGas opportunity at the IIP plant has been discussed for 2 years now,
right.
Going on 2 years. My original perception of it was that it was going to be a renewable. We're going to be taking renewables that we have here in our community, and there was going to be a national, I think it was at Maersk,
that's right.
Was a big container ship operation, and was going to be creating gas to support their fleet. And
right.
So this is the first I'm hearing, really, I'm hearing about the carbon piece of it.
Likewise, I said that last week. My understanding is they're creating methanol from wood byproducts,
right.
And wood byproducts is a perfect opportunity for Central Louisiana because we got a lot of wood.
Yeah,
there's a lot of byproducts from what we already do with wood. So if they can take the limbs and the chippings and the leftovers and then turn that into a renewable energy source, it seems like a perfect fit. The question about the CO2, the carbon dioxide emissions, it never even occurred to me that was going to be part of it. I guess in any manufacturing, there is an emission that has to be dealt with. And so that's where I think this is coming up. So
the question is, though, was that part of was that coming already, or is this something new as they've been? Look, this thing, these kind of deals take years to put together. And so you're not going to do these things in 6 to 8 months or a year. And so, a lot of times when I find when folks, especially developers who are in certain industries, they'll go in and they'll option a property. They'll try to get the option for as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they're doing behind the scenes is, because they may be known for one thing, but then behind the scenes, they're just scrambling, trying to figure out the highest and best use that they can make a profit out of this particular tract. So have they shifted gears? Have they gone out and found another opportunity that's different from the one that they had originally?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a question.
Great questions. I'm, again, grateful to have Robert Rigdon, the president and CEO. We only have a couple of minutes before we get to the bottom of the hour. I have a phone light flashing. I want to get to it. But before I do that, I do want to say today is the anniversary of D-Day. And June 6th, that's huge, hugely important. I heard yesterday the conversation in the White House with the president or the prime minister of Germany. And I loved how he said it. Because, when President Trump was talking about it, and it may not have been the best day for your country, and his response was, "Oh, but yes, it was. It liberated us from the Nazi regime." I thought, what a great perspective for Germany to view D-Day as a good day for them. So, I appreciate it.
That was 81 years, is right? That's 81 years ago. And when you start thinking about that, and you think about, I just got back from Washington, D.C. and I've been there for the last week. Got back literally last night and jumping back in this morning. But, when you're especially with the Capitol and you start thinking about the history of the world, history of the United States, we're not that old.
Right.
And when you think about, D-Day 81 years ago, what's happened in the last 81 years? Hawaii and Alaska weren't even states 81 years ago.
That's right.
And then especially when you start thinking about there's talk about when you start talking about Trump, talking about taking over Greenland or some of these other areas. Those are things that actually really could happen.
It could happen.
81 years ago, we didn't have we were two less states.
48, that's right.
So
might be 51 if Canada agrees.
You never.
Hey, let's take this real quick phone call. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Matt and Nathan.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to speak to Matt when he said and he wasn't aware of what was going on with the carbon capture. None of us were, because they dangled the other things in front of us like a red cape in front of a bull. And the bull runs at the red cape, and the red cape disappears, and then he's left with the result of a sword in his back. They told us about the positive things that you mentioned, but as carbon capture, this goes in the direction. We got to remember where it started. It is born from the philosophy that climate change is an alarming thing and is real, and that it's a result of what we're doing, and this carbon, which feeds the plants, has to be captured. And so we're going in the wrong direction. I think we need to fight it every tooth and nail because of that. It was a lot like yesterday when they were talking about, Sandra and Al were talking about that Navy ship that they're going to rename. And she said, well, it's a big fight, that it could have been used, that energy could be used elsewhere. Yes, as on a political level, she's absolutely right, and her wisdom is unquestionable. But on a philosophical level, as a country, it was born that we were moving as a people in the Romans 1 direction, where these alternative lifestyles are normal and good and to be celebrated and to be forced upon you. So I think every effort to move our country in the right ideological direction is profitable and good and necessary in our time. I didn't mean to take so much time, but thank y'all. Y'all have a great day.
Hey, Dave, thank you for your call. Always appreciate your perspective. And we're going to ask those questions, find out what role does carbon capture play in the Sun Gas project. I did a little reading about biofuels and trying to prepare for this, and it's coming. I mean, it's such an attractive alternative to that industry where they can take that methanol and either combine it with diesel or use it purely, and being a byproduct of wood. I'm telling you, they're coming. If they don't come to Pineville, they're going to be in Mississippi, or they're going to be in southern Arkansas. They're going to be wherever the forests are and wherever closed mills are, chances are. So
15 years ago, we almost had one in Boyce behind Cowboy Town.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sundrop. That was I'm not exactly sure the particulars of what Sundrop was doing, but they are renewable. They were taking wood products and they were going to do some type of biofuel. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know if it was gas, but that was a deal that was planned. They came in, they bought, that was in 2011. They came in and bought 1,200 acres of land, but from Ballina Farms, and they bought the Cowboy Town building, which just happened to be there. Used it as a research and development building for 4 years. They spent about $20 million here locally, between about $8 million in the land and the acquisition of the building, and then another $12 million just in soft cost, just hiring folks to come in and plan this deal. They spent 4 years doing it, and then poof, it went away.
Right.
They didn't do it.
Do you know why?
Well, I'm told, the 2016 election was going in the was not in their favor.
Gotcha.
For the tax credits, and so then you start questioning: is this just a big, really large scale tax credit play, or is this actually something that really it's helpful?
Well, we're looking forward to talking to the president and CEO of Sun Gas, asking those questions, get some background on the product, and find out, everybody's talking about carbon sequestration. We're going to ask and let him share, we'll get it from the horse's mouth,
sure,
and we'll have that conversation right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Futures are rising ahead of the May jobs report as Tesla shares stage a rebound. Shares plunged 14% yesterday as CEO Elon Musk traded barbs with his former boss, President Donald Trump. The Tesla rout wiped $153 billion from its market value, but Musk has since signaled he would move to cool tensions with Trump. The trade war is already boosting U.S. auto prices, often in ways that are almost invisible to car buyers. Automakers have been quietly cutting rebates and limiting cheap financing deals, adding hundreds of dollars to monthly payments. Researcher Edmonds says that several have boosted mandatory delivery charges by anywhere from $40 to $400. And some lucky gamers are now unboxing their new Nintendo Switch 2 devices. It was the biggest consumer tech product release of the year so far, and fans waited years for a new version of the machine, which went on sale yesterday at a price of $450. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talkline at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
And good morning. Welcome back to Talkback. Nathan Martin, your host this morning, with special guest co-host Matt Ritchie. Glad to have Matt in the studio, who knows everything about real estate and nothing about carbon sequestration, is what he said.
I will admit to that.
But we do have somebody who knows a lot about Sungas, and that is the president and CEO of Sungas, Robert Rigdon. We are grateful to have you join us on the line this morning. Good morning, Mr. Rigdon. How are you?
Good morning, Nathan. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show this morning.
Well, we're grateful that you're willing to come on and chat with us about the project of Sungas. There's been a lot of great communication or information or excitement, I would say all three of those, about Sungas over the last couple of years. And certainly in the last maybe month or two, there's been questions about what I mentioned a while ago, the carbon sequestration. But before we get to that, can we just talk about the project in general? Tell us about what Sungas is and what is it that you'll be producing here in Central Louisiana.
Okay, great. Happy to do that. And that is a good place to start. As you mentioned, Sungas has been working to develop this project, what we call the Beaver Lake Renewable Energy Project, now for over probably 2 years here in the local area. And Sungas is a company that I don't know if everyone really fully appreciates it, but this is a company that was started up by a very well-known and respected institute in the United States, the Gas Technology Institute out of Chicago, based on providing technology that could convert certain types of feedstock into biofuels. And this homegrown U.S. technology developed here in the U.S. was then taken into Sungas, and we began to commercialize Sungas as on one part, a technology company providing technology to many projects, primarily in North America and potentially in Europe, as well as we later in the development of the Sungas company decided to start to develop and build our own project. Now, that project that we decided to start to develop is the project that we're speaking about here that would be located there right adjacent to Pineville, Louisiana. This project is a project that uses, as I mentioned, Sungas gasification technology to convert wood fiber feedstocks. Now, what I mean by that is these are the same basic types of feedstock inputs that are used by the paper industry and paper mills. Well, that is one of the reasons that attracted us to the area, is that the area previously had a paper mill at the site owned by International Paper. And that paper mill was using the same type of feedstock to make paper that we're using to convert those feedstocks into a biofuel that will be used primarily for marine shipping. And this biofuel is called methanol. But not only for marine shipping, it can also be used and will be sold in part to make other chemicals, derivative chemicals, as part of the, and also as potentially some other fuel sources, because methanol can be converted into derivative fuels as well. So at a high level, this is a biofuels project that's coming to the local area. This biofuels project has a fairly large scale. It's probably going to cost around $2.5 billion to get this project built and on the ground. And it will produce on the fuel side about 500,000 tons a year of the methanol fuel that I just mentioned.
I read in the Biofuels Digest that the product that you produce will be used in the marine field, but also in aviation and green chemistry. So it has to do with more than just Maersk. A lot of people have talked about Maersk as a partner. Tell us about that partnership and what their commitment is to this project. And obviously they're a third party, but it sounds like their participation is important.
I think the way to look at Maersk in our project is as a customer that would be buying our product. And the reason that, you've seen some of the connectivity between us and Maersk is because in the early days of Sungas, Maersk has been a leader in the shipping industry in moving towards purchasing large container ships that move all over the world and purchasing new large container ships that would run on another generation of biofuels. And through the work that Maersk did over probably the past almost on biofuels, Maersk determined that the methanol pathway was a preferred pathway for biofuels in the shipping industry. Maersk then committed to purchase a number of large container ships, which they have done, that would use these biofuels. And then many other shipping companies have followed on to that same thinking, and that has created an emerging demand, quite large actually, for these marine shipping fuels, this methanol shipping fuel. So Maersk, from our point of view, is a large customer that was involved in the early work in helping these new biofuel markets form. These are primarily European markets, for everyone to know. The fuel we make here at this will be primarily
we lost you there for a second. Are you still there, Mr. Rigdon? Mr. Rigdon, I think we're having trouble with our connection. I hear road noise, so he may be communicating as well.
No, I'm here.
Okay, we lost you for a moment.
Sorry about that. I'm here. I'm sitting in my office. I'm not on the road. Okay.
Well, it sounded like some maybe we're having VoIP issues this morning. So basically, to answer that question, Maersk is a customer, perhaps the primary customer, and the European market. Well, does that have to do with? And again, Matt and I know next to nothing. I mean, next to below nothing about this. So forgive these dumb questions, but does that have anything to do with Europe's more aggressive stance on climate issues and carbon credits, as I've heard them talked about in Europe? Is that why they're looking for this alternative fuel?
Well, I think it does. It is connected to that in a lot of ways. Europe, in many areas, is driving a global demand for fuels that have lower carbon footprints. And so we are in a unique position here in the U.S. to be able to build facilities that create a lot of good jobs and a lot of investment in the U.S. to be able to fill that additional demand for these new biofuels. But it is largely, it's not entirely generated something that is European driven, but it is Europe, I would say, is a big part of that global market drive.
Okay. We're going to take a break. One last question before the break is, you've already explained why you chose the Pineville region because of the closed IP plant that uses a similar product. We've heard a lot about the waste basket, not waste basket, the wood basket and the byproducts. Are you using just limbs and scraps? Are you using full-blown trees? And what impact would that have on the forestry industry here in our area?
Okay, great question. We will use primarily two major sources of the feedstock. One is sawmill residues, which are also sort of called chips, that come out of, they're a byproduct of sawmill operations that are going on around Louisiana and in the area. So that'll make up a large part of the feedstock. And that is basically the same feedstock, as I mentioned, that was going into the paper mill. It's coming out of the sawmills as a byproduct. But in addition, the forestry industry is in Louisiana, goes through and thins forests on a regular basis so that the forest can grow healthy and make good, strong, tall timber for the lumber industry. Those thinnings that come out of that thinning process, we take those thinnings, they look like small round logs, and we bring those into the facility, and then we create chips out of those. And they're also, I would say, the second part of our feedstock that goes into the facility. So thinnings from normal sustainable forestry that goes on in Louisiana, as well as chips coming primarily out of sawmills.
Very good. We're talking with Robert Rigdon, the CEO and president of SunGas. that proposes to build a plant at the old IP site in Pineville that was closed in 2009 and been vacant ever since, largely the mill operations. We need to take this break. When we come back, we're going to ask you those questions that people are asking about. What role does carbon sequestration play, carbon capture and sequestration, and help us understand, why that's such a buzz topic right now. We'll be back with more with Robert Rigdon right after this.
KSYL. Hello, I'm Dr. Noah Miller. I'm the new guy at the clinics. I'm a family medicine physician from Vedrine, Louisiana, and I'm now accepting new patients. Call today for an appointment. The clinics offers a wide range of services, including primary care, family and chronic care, urgent and acute care, on-site lab and x-ray as well. Same-day appointments are available, and we accept most insurance and Medicare. Experience exceptional care at the clinics. 1587 North Bolton. Call 445-9823 or reach us online at theclinics.us. Looking forward to seeing you at the clinic.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK-TALKBAck.
And we welcome you back to Talkback with Robert Rigdon of Sun Gas, President and CEO. Matt Ritchie, Nathan Martin here, your host today. We've been talking with him about the project that Sun Gas desires to bring to Central Louisiana. But the big question that everyone asks is about carbon sequestration. And I guess my question to you is, what role does carbon sequestration play in the Sun Gas opportunity here in Central Louisiana?
Okay, that's also another really good question for us. So first, I guess let me make it clear what we're doing at the site there. We are not a carbon sequestration company. There are carbon sequestration companies operating around Louisiana that provide CO2 services for carbon capture utilization, called CCS. Our project at the Beaver Lake site produces, as part of the process that we have underway, when we make the methanol, we also produce a fairly large quantity of CO2. Now, it's important, this CO2 under sort of other, in the past would a lot of times just be vented into the atmosphere, but we have here to make these products valuable, and to actually return the CO2 to where it originally came from, which is sort of the earth. We are required to have a carbon capture sequestration solution where the CO2 can be permanently stored and sequestered. And so we pay companies to take the CO2 from the project to do that. Now, so you might ask, well, why do we do that? Why is that important? It is important because the product that we sell into the industry has what we call a carbon intensity score. And to the degree that carbon intensity score goes higher, or then the product's less valuable, and if the carbon intensity score is lower, the product is more valuable in the marketplace. And without the CO2 sequestration, the product is not very marketable. The carbon intensity score is too high. So CO2 sequestration becomes a very important element to make the marine shipping fuel that we make a valuable product in the global markets. So this is why we do that. And then, as I said, there's companies around Louisiana that have been established for a long time that are taking the CO2 and sequestering it. So sequestering CO2 is something that's been done for a while. Moving CO2 in pipelines is a very common practice for many, many years around the world. And CO2 is not it's a gas. I think most people do understand it's a gas that we breathe out every day. It is a gas that is fundamental to the life of plants and trees. They require CO2 to be able to grow. And essentially, this is CO2 that came in through the growth of the tree or the wood fiber or the chip that came out of the sawmill. It comes in to our process and it goes back out and then it's permanently stored back in the earth. So this project, by doing that, is reducing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.
So, Mr. Brignan, so I'm thinking, did I hear you say that like CPS, like the CPS Cenla hub that we've that's been circulating here around, were you saying that you would be a customer or you'd be a user? So you're not affiliated with that group. You're just
we're not affiliated with the group. They are a group that they are a service provider to the industry, like biofuels projects like ours, to be able to take the CO2 and sequester it, because they're really good at that. And they developed the Cenla hub, not for Sungas only, but for Sungas and many others that would take CO2 from industrial projects like ours and sequester the CO2. And that's a service, and we hire them to provide that service for us.
So are you aware, are there other industry here locally that are already using them?
Well, I think that's probably a better question for them. I have some awareness that there are other customers that they work with, but I don't know the specific. Those types of customers are really probably something you would better ask them about.
That's fair.
And there's more than just CPS as carbon capture sequestration companies, in the United States. There's several others that do the same thing.
So I know we're limited on time. I just want to ask one more question. Almost a twofold question. Economic benefit, like what can you give us, just a high level economic benefit that we'll have to Pineville, Alexandria, and all of Central Louisiana for your project, which is a $2.5 million project. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of construction jobs associated with that, but as well as what other businesses come or follow, or do you anticipate following your project?
Well, okay. First off, you're right. You said it, because it's a large construction project. There's going to be over 1,100. We're predicting right now construction jobs going on during constructions, and then once the construction's complete, our models are showing 400 to 500 indirect jobs. There'll be a little over 100 permanent jobs in the facility. But you got to remember, there's a lot of support services that are required from the local area to support this project, and the maintenance and parts and all these different things that are required for a large industrial complex like this. So we'll be focused on a lot of local hiring, a lot of local purchasing and so forth and things like that, to be able to bring as much economic benefit as we can into the community.
Wonderful. Thank you. You mentioned to us you were willing to take a couple of calls. I know we're short on time, but we're going to try to do this real quickly. Caller, good morning. You're on the line with Robert Rigdon, President and CEO of Sungas. Caller?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
If y'all are coming into our area and you plan on being such a good neighbor to us and doing all this good, why would you lobby Baton Rouge for eminent domain? That's not being good when you're talking about forcibly taking people's property against their will.
All right, thank you, caller. I appreciate that. And we'll let you listen on the...
Okay. Let me direct that question. First off, I think Sungas, just to be clear, Sungas has land agreements in place already around our site, and we're not doing anything with eminent domain to build our project. I do, so that I'm not, not trying to touch the question here. I think the question that you're asking is around the building of pipelines and so forth in Louisiana that sometimes require eminent domain, and that's something related to moving products and pipelines across the state. I'm not an expert in this area, so let me just say that right off the bat. But my understanding is that there are quite a lot of protections under the Louisiana law still for landowners. And I would encourage people that are concerned by that to get the direct answers from those that are knowledgeable with the topic of eminent domain. That's probably not me, so I cannot go very deep there on that, but that's probably the best I can do with it right now. Unless you know the SunGas, we have our land agreements in place. We're building this project, and we're all set and ready to go.
All right. Then we got time for one more caller. Quickly, caller, get to you. If you don't mind, share your question with Mr. Rigdon.
Yes. There's permanent storage. You mentioned having permanent storage. So that in itself just tells you that this motivation is really about climate change. It really doesn't have anything about doing this project. But regardless of that, methanol is a dangerous substance, and if it gets out in the community, it can cause damage, it can hurt people. Do you support legislation that requires companies to provide financial support to communities, develop local detection and response systems, as well as to compensate individuals who are harmed physically, emotionally, or psychologically by a disaster that company is responsible for, whether it's in normal operations or during times of storms and those sort of things, and to penalize companies who fail to follow those standards?
All right. Thank you, caller. We'll let him answer this as you listen off air.
All right. Thank you for that question. Well, look, a lot there. I do want to clarify. I think you said methanol. You might have intended carbon dioxide. Methanol is a product that's manufactured in large quantities all over parts of Louisiana already. It's a commodity chemical. And with well-established protocols for safety, we are highly focused on safety. And we will continue to take all steps known to have a responsible, safe operating project for our employees, for the residents. The topic that is being addressed here largely has to do, I believe, with moving CO2 in pipelines. Pipelines are the single safest way to move molecules around the country. That's been proven and well established. They're very, very safe. Pipelines are monitored to make sure that if there are any issues, they can be identified and taken care of. And they are fundamental to the economic foundation of states like Louisiana, that we have pipelines to move valuable products like we're talking about here.
Well, we appreciate so much, Mr. Rigdon, you taking your time to talk with us. I have other callers on the line. I'm sorry, we've run out of time. I have to take this break or I'll get kicked off the radio myself. I understand you'll have some people in town next week as well, and we're trying to arrange an in-studio interview. Would love to have Representative SunGas come in. I know these are hard questions, and I appreciate you taking them with us here this morning on the air and giving us your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Appreciate you. All right. We'll be right back after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
Cenla Broadcasting is local, so we promote the locals.
Helping to feed Cenla's Hungry, the food bank of Central Louisiana serves more than 22,000 people every month in our community. They support local food pantries, soup kitchens, emergency shelters, after-school programs, and kids' cafes. For every $1 donated, our food bank can provide 5 meals to families in need. Learn more on Facebook or at fbcenla.org. Together, we can provide hope to the hungry people here in Central Louisiana.
This has been a public service reminder from Cenla Broadcasting.
Talkback. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
Well, we're grateful for Mr. Robert Rigdon of SunGas taking the time to call in and to take the questions. I'm sorry we ran out of time for those. We had to get that break in at a certain time or the computer kicks us and runs us. But they have agreed, as I understand, we'll bring somebody else in next week who will be, very much involved with the local aspects of it and can answer a lot of these questions. Remind everybody that Monday at 6 o'clock, there is a community meeting out at Philadelphia Baptist Church where this will be discussed. And there will be, I'm guessing there'll be people on all sides of the topic there, but it's important to have the conversation.
Is SunGas going to be there?
they may send somebody. I think they've been invited. Now that they found about it,
I got you.
That may be why they're going to bring somebody in next week. I don't know for sure.
This would be my only hope, is that there's going to be somebody there that actually, and like I've said, I've self-admittedly already tried twice on there that I don't have a clue of I've read, I've read up on it, but I still don't know what the long-term effects of it.
Well, and someone like in our KSYL page this morning had made a comment, go look at this interview, this Natural Resources Committee on May the 29th, I think it was. And, look at, well, unfortunately, I went and looked at it this morning. It's a 3.5 hour long committee meeting, and I fast forwarded through it, and I wasn't able to find the segments because they dealt with so many different topics. And so it is important that we educate ourselves and asking the right questions. We've had some great questions texted to us. I think part of this is international global politics, and Europe is wanting this low carbon cost product. And America could provide it, but if we don't, then China may provide it, right? And so there's an international play there as to who's going to be the power or an energy provider in the future. If we don't want to be that, then yeah, we can step back. If we're going to do it, then let's do it safely. And he says that there are many carbon producing manufacturing companies in Louisiana right now. It sounds like this CPS company has been in business for a long time. Let's look at the data. Do they have spills? Have there been catastrophes? What do they do to prevent those? These are great questions.
Yeah, and he mentioned that there's other facilities around the state. The number one question, and I think he answered it, but I wanted to ask him directly, I didn't get a chance to, is this the first project you've ever done? It sounds like they're obviously familiar with the industry. They obviously understand the industry, where they're going with it, but is this the first? Is this their first? Is there another sun gas somewhere located somewhere else, or is this a startup?
Well, that's a great question, and we'll ask them that next week when they come here in studio. I do know that their website says they're looking at multiple sites.
Right.
This may be the first one.
Right.
So, well, wonderful. Well, that's hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up. It's going to be all Matt all the time with all economic update stuff. And maybe a little Washington, D.C. talk.
A little bit.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing from that as we get back into the regular stream of things. Al and I swapped out this week so that he could finish up the week yesterday with Sandra. I am in today, Nathan Martin in with Matt Ritchie, and we'll be back with the Cenla Economic Update right after this.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenla Broadcasting. FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 8 o'clock. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Hiring slowed down some last month with employers on edge amid uncertainty over President Trump's tariffs. They added 139,000 positions compared to 177,000 in April. Unemployment held steady at 4.2%. As for interest rates, business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
This report will do little to change the Federal Reserve's outlook. And the reason is that there hasn't been a significant and sustained deterioration in the job market yet.
A source tells CBS News Elon Musk wants a call with the president after their bromance imploded in spectacular fashion yesterday. But the source says Mr. Trump isn't sure he wants to talk. CBS's Robert Costa.
Elon Musk has had an up-close view of how President Trump uses power. He's not afraid to use it. So those close to President Trump tell me he could push to get rid of those contracts with SpaceX and other Musk companies. He could try to get rid of these tax subsidies. There's a real sense of being vindictive if necessary.
The White House says the president is thinking about selling the red Tesla Musk gave him. A new chapter in Trump versus Harvard. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the president's order, preventing the school from enrolling international students.
In its latest court filing, the university called President Trump's effort an end run around a previous court order that stopped the Department of Homeland Security from blocking Harvard from hosting foreign students. Liu Xinyi attends Harvard.
I know some of my friends are also considering transfer to other university or like contacting the labs in Hong Kong.
Harvard says it is developing contingency plans to make sure international students can stay this summer and the next academic year. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Massachusetts teenager Marcelo Gomez de Silva has been released from detention days after he was arrested by ICE agents on his way to volleyball practice.
I haven't showered in 6 days. I haven't done anything. The only thing I could do is thank God every day because that's all I would do. I would pray there. Sometimes our lunch and dinner would be crackers. I would share with the people there because they're like all 35-year-old men.
People across Gaza are praying outside destroyed homes and mosques at the start of one of Islam's most important holidays, Eid al-Adha. They're having a hard time scraping together food for their traditional 3-day feast. CBS's Elizabeth Palmer.
The UN said it managed to get 20 truckloads of supplies in yesterday, but that's a drop in the bucket. They estimate that they should be moving between 300 and 500 trucks a day.
One distribution center closed this week after dozens of people were killed by gunfire. Dow futures up 293. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance. Progressive can protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. In short, a lot of things. Bundle today at Progressive.com.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But what if you could get both? Why not? Especially when it comes to health care, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge, but it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. And we know this from research of members. There's a lot they like about MediShare, but especially they love being part of something they believe in. And MediShare works, too. It has for more than 30 years. There are hundreds of thousands of members who love having telehealth if they need it. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or you're part of the gig economy or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Call 877-26-BIBLE. That's 877-26-BIBLE. 877-26-BIBLE.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Jean Burns. A sweeping bill calling for a series of nutrition reforms is on the governor's desk after unanimously passing both houses of the legislature. Major components include banning certain artificial colors and additives in meals served in schools and forcing food companies to put QR codes on packaging if their products contain certain artificial ingredients. The bill's author, Republican Patrick McMath, says it's all part of the nationwide Make America Healthy Again movement.
Giving President Trump and Secretary Kennedy the leverage they need to bring the food manufacturers to the table to get them to change their ingredients.
The Louisiana High School Coaches Association has named its first ever female director, Franklinton native Jessica Barber. She brings decades of coaching experience to the job and says the news reminds her of the women who impacted her as an athlete.
They would have been honored to sit in this chair. And so whenever I get that opportunity, it's those women that I think about the most.
LRN.
Did you know that 71% of all licensed real estate agents did not sell a single property in 2024? Hi, this is Trish Lala. When it's time to make the largest financial decision of your life, buying or selling a home, what's happening in the market really matters. The good news is you actually can still come out ahead if you place your trust in an agency with decades of experience handling all of those ups and downs. When experience matters, we're here for you. The Trish Lala Group.
Good morning, a nice weekend stretching out ahead of us with sunny skies on our Friday. Afternoon highs near 95 degrees. We'll see winds out of the south-southwest at about 5 to 10. Now tonight, clear skies down to 76 with, we say basically clear skies. And then for Saturday, partly cloudy afternoon highs near 95. 94 the high for us on Sunday. Should be a good weekend. Today's your forecast from the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center. I'm Dick. Currently 75 degrees in Cenla.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 27 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
And welcome back to hour number 2 with Matt Ritchie and the Cenla Economic Update. Man, I'm excited about this part. It's not a Tuesday, it's a Friday, but it's always a good day when Matt's in the studio. Good morning, Matt.
Well, I appreciate that, Nathan. It's a good first half hour, 45 minutes or so. That was interesting, especially getting to hear from Mr. Rigdon, and look forward. We have lots of questions that you and I both didn't get to ask, and a lot of obviously our listeners didn't get to ask. So hopefully the folks come on next week, and then we'll just have continuous conversation and try to figure that out, because that is a wonderful industrial site out there, and whatever happens to it, we want it to be good for the community. We want it to be good for everybody.
For those who've texted me questions and messaged them, I'm going to compile those so that when they come in studio next week, I'll be ready to go with those. And I know you'll have some questions as well. And so I think I appreciate their willingness to come in. I understand there had been a desire to have public meetings all along, but the legislators asked them to hold off until after the session because they want to be in the meetings. And as you know, in the session, it's hard to come back for a 6 o'clock meeting when you're voting at 5 o'clock or whatever. So I do think that there will be some meetings hosted by the legislators themselves, or at least, heavily participated in and promoted by. So there will be more ongoing conversation, and this is a long project. As you know, anything that requires DEQ approval and permits and all that kind of stuff, it's a long project. And I think we're all a little gun shy after the aluminum plant project that didn't happen, and then Sundrop. You mentioned you were very much a lot of intimate information about that project.
Yeah, just because I ended up buying it after the fact. Right. But so that was their downturn worked well for me. But as far as the IP plant, that's a project that I've done several presentations here to local clubs here locally over the last year or so, and we have Rapides Parish. We're not talking about Alexandria. We're just talking about Rapides Parish as a whole is already predicted to lose 4,000 people in population in the next 5 years. I mean, we know that. I mean, that's where things are trending based off of where we're at from our jobs perspective. We need jobs. We need these type of developments. So I know there's a lot of questions about the environment and the impact of what'll happen to our area, and I'm right there with everyone having the same questions, because we don't want to, for profit or for money, we don't want to cause long-term impacts and health impacts to us, and to impact our properties and our health and everything else. I don't want that either. But if it is something that actually is not going to impact and will offer something that's positive, we need that so bad for our economy.
And what I understand, I guess here's my dumb question. What manufacturing product doesn't produce CO2 in its process? I don't know. There are millions of miles of pipeline already that are transporting that right now. We're probably walking over it, driving over it every day. We just didn't know it. So it's brought to the forefront good conversations. I know we got to jump into your stuff.
Yeah,
you got a lot of stuff, but we have some phone calls. Do you want to take them?
You know what?
Ask them to hold on about this.
Well, just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
We're going to report on May 5th, May 16th to May 31st. I do have transactions to talk about. We will get those we'll get to them in the show. But let's take these calls. So I want to talk about transaction volume for the last 2 weeks compared to 2024. But let's take a call.
All right, we'll jump on the phone line. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Matt and Nathan. Hello. That's you.
Yeah, I found a good website. CIEL, Center for International Environmental Law, and it's a discussion of the risks of offshore carbon capture and storage. They have a lot of good information, and new studies demonstrate the risk of assuming the ocean has a vast storage capacity. Researchers warn that dynamics within each individual geological formation are unpredictable. Macro estimates of geologic storage capacity are likely flawed. Such research suggests that many regional inventory of CO2 storage capacity may overestimate the amount of carbon that can be safely injected into a given formation. Anyway, that's a good website. They discuss a lot of the potential hazards of this injecting this carbon dioxide into the ground.
All right, CIEL.org. I just found that, and I will be bookmarking that and looking at that again. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. We're going to go to the next call. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Matt.
Well, I noticed in Trump's big, beautiful bill, they're still funding this Green New Deal.
That was a little surprising, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just talking about that. I was actually surprised with that there is still a lot of funding for that.
Yeah, well, I just wonder how much of this sun gas money is coming from that, dependent on Congress. So Congress cuts, the Senate doesn't pass that. Is this project going to go forward?
And that was one of the questions that was texted to me was, if the government subsidies go away, does this project die? I can't speak for them. It sounds like it might would, because he talked about the You said if there's scoring involved.
Well, just from my experience with tax credits, there's always, when you have scoring and you got to have, you do this because it scores higher on this rate, and so you're competing with other projects for the tax credits. Yeah, that's a completely subsidized federal project.
Right, and so this blow up between Elon Musk and Trump is about Trump wants to cut out tax supports for EV cars.
And that's the allegation that's been made. Supposedly, Elon said a couple of months ago, get rid of those. He didn't need that $7,500 tax credit. So I don't know if that really is. I did hear an interesting interview this morning where, and this has not been reported anyplace else except for this one place, where they said that Trump said that Elon wanted Trump to put in a head of NASA. That was one of Elon's picks, and Trump didn't choose it, and maybe over that as well. So there's who knows what's going on in the
never know
in the playground, right? Hey, thank you for your call. Let's go to the next one. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Matt and Nathan.
Hey, Nathan, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hey, doing well, thank you.
Matt, I'm Mike Slocum. I don't know if y'all recognize my voice. It's been a long time since I talked to y'all.
Not till you said your name, but now I do.
Melody's been all over the radio and stuff, but I wanted to just mention, I was going to let y'all go to that next deal, but I want to tell you that, the guy that was on there, I appreciate him coming, but that company did lobby for that land, what I call land grab. They also lobbied for this really big thing, and that was the, opt-out program where parishes could opt out. They want to run in pipelines from point A to point B. And this company is all involved in that. The company's not been in business for very long. So we're having that meeting, and we're going to talk about that. We did invite them to come. And, there's a bunch of other things that could be brought up, but these legislatures have been lobbied to death about this. And, this is all the new green scam. Y'all know that. And, Nathan, you know that because you were in meetings with your old mayor that you worked for when this first came out.
Right.
And
this has been talked about for the last three mayors,
Yeah. So this is what happened. With them legislatures, they have time to drive back from Baton Rouge to meet with us. That's, to me, is just a ridiculous thing for a legislature to tell me he can't drive back. Now, we did this, we found this out in 2 weeks, and we put together a giant meeting with experts coming in. So they could have had this meeting way before this happened. And they're behind this because they want to this is going to be one of the largest hubs in the United States before it's over with. It could last 20 years. And, we feel that we should have been known a long time ago. And they're all my friends. I gave some of them the money to run. But this is becoming a scam. It's coming from Joe Biden, and that is the truth. And if it wouldn't be for that money, this stuff wouldn't be here. And the people need to raise up about this and hold these people accountable. I got in a very bad argument with one of my legislators behind this until I found out that these lobbyists have been taking these. The same guy says that he doesn't really know about that. That's just ridiculous to me. And I really appreciate y'all hearing us and talking about this. There is so much more to go into this. We have dug into these companies. Some of these companies are owned by one man. He is a billionaire, and he has smoke companies, what I call these smoking companies that he sells and buys and stuff. That money coming from our government, which y'all just talked about, Elon Musk and all these things, they cut that out. They cut Musk's stuff out, but they kept in the carbon capture, and I wonder why. I want to talk to Congressman. We're going to try to fly up there to Washington and talk to Congressman Mike Johnson about this and find out why that was put in the new green book bill. I don't believe the president is for all this mess, the congressman's put it in there because they have a lot of oil and big money people behind them. And that's all we're trying to do. What we want is one thing, is the people to vote on it. And when they knocked us out on that Parrish op deal, where they opted out of it because they went down to the Baton Rouge and lobbied the governor and everybody else, which I've had many calls from the governor's office about this. Why are you stirring it up, Mike? Well, the more I dug into it, the more I don't like it. I really appreciate y'all. I know this is a very hot topic. We're going to have a good meeting at a good place, and we appreciate the church letting us have it. And so thank y'all so much, and I'll get off there.
And well, Mike,
talking to y'all.
Certainly, thank you for your call, and I look forward to being there Monday. I want to be educated. That's coming into this, we were only talking about the economic side of it. That's all we knew about, and so we were super excited about it. But now that you guys have uncovered some things, I think we all have a right to know and have this conversation. And I'm glad that KSYL provides it to us, that you provide it to us, and looking forward to being there Monday night.
Yeah, and thank you. Just remember this one thing. These are long-term, and they say, well, we're not going to do it in Rapides Parish. Well, they are going to do. They just tried to put a permit, and I think they just did on Cooley Crossing. Well, that's right down the road. This is the same water aquifer. Who in the right mind would pump carbon on a scam into the ground underneath us? They have no clue what they're doing. This is long storage. They do run carbon through pipelines, but they never put it in the ground for this. They had to invent a new, Halliburton had to come out with a new deal to gauge this for 100 years. Well, what company is going to be around in 100 years? We're not going to be here in 100 years, but our people are. But if you get into this and research it, I'm in law enforcement, so I got that investigative skill. It took me about 5 days to figure out what they was up to. This is nothing but a carbon scam is what it is. Castor Plunge is where the next well site's going to be in Rapides Parish. If you throw a rock across that river from the paper mill, you're going to hit it real quick. They want the paper mill site because they want the water. It takes a tremendous millions of gallons of water to do this process. They want that rail system that's there, and they want access to that river. And, the problem I have is they're going to use this as a hub to go all out. They're going to use, they don't just deal with one company. They use their pipelines for carbon for everybody. And so that's what we want to talk about at Philadelphia Church. Thank y'all again. I'll leave that with you. And, Matt, I appreciate everything you do, and I'll see you hustling. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your call, brother.
Bye.
All right. Well, passionate and informative. So
look, and I think everyone needs to take it upon themselves to to really educate themselves. I'm going to go. Melanie had reached out to me earlier this week, and because I'm like I said earlier, I know I'm not educated enough to understand it, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad they got a good place, a big place where a lot of people can fit, because I have a feeling it's going to be a big crowd.
I'm sure it will be.
Right.
What are we at?
Well, we're close to a break. If you want to take it, that way you can kind of dive into something.
Let's do that.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're fixing to dive big time into the Cenla Economic Update with more of that with Matt Ritchie right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
The clinics welcome Dr. Noah Miller, family medicine physician, to our team. Dr. Miller from Vadrine, Louisiana, is now accepting new patients. Call today to schedule your appointment. The clinics offers a wide range of services, including primary care, family and chronic care, urgent and acute care with on-site lab and x-ray. Same-day appointments are available, and we accept most insurance and Medicare. Experience exceptional care at the clinics, 1587 North Bolton. Call 445-9823 or look us up online at theclinics.us.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
At Cenla Broadcasting, we're very proud of our 10 local radio stations. One of those is Magic 100.9, but we play light favorites of the 80s.
Not everybody has got a body like you.
90s. And more. All of your light favorites with very little talk. Give us a try sometime. Magic 100.9.
Your local radio company is Cenla Broadcasting. We're all about local.
River Oaks Square Arts Center is located downtown, and their mission is to promote contemporary visual arts while providing educational programming that stimulates art appreciation. They provide outreach programs for the disabled and elderly populations of the community, as well as premier visual arts summer program for children. Learn more at riveroaksartscenter.com.
This has been a public service reminder from Cenla Broadcasting.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talkline at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
There we go. Push the right button. We don't know much about carbon sequestration, but Matt knows a lot about real estate. And Matt, tell us about what's going on in the real estate market in Central Louisiana.
Well, I can tell you if it's Friday and I wasn't here on the first Tuesday and I wasn't at the Capitol this week, we were the National Association of Realtors. This was my 19th year in a row going in May of every year. The National Realtors puts on a Capitol Hill visits. There's about 10,000 realtor members that are politically involved or politically interested in what's going on, how policy and national policy, tax policy impacts the real estate and private property rights. And so it's about a 4 to 5 day trip. I actually had the opportunity to bring my wife and son with me this trip. They did, while I was in meetings all day, they did a bunch of sightseeing and did some things like that. So it was a good little trip out of that. And so, but we got to make some really good contacts across the country with other realtor members. I always enjoyed this meeting. You know, I can remember the first time that I ever went. Made me realize what an impact that the largest trade association in America can have on Capitol Hill, because we are, the 1.5 million members is the largest trade association, which actually in the state we're the largest trade association as far as numbers as well. So, the realtors show up, the legislators listen. Most of the time, not all the time, and I wouldn't even say most of the time, sometimes. And so, obviously, if they know we're looking and watching, but we're there to protect private property rights and the real estate industry. So it was a really good. I got to make get to meet with Kennedy. I'm the federal political coordinator for Senator John Kennedy. The National Association of Realtors assigns one member out of the 1.5 members to each member of Congress, and I'm the one that's been assigned to Senator Kennedy, and obviously Trish is actually the federal political coordinator for Congresswoman Letlow, and
she does a better job on her social media though, because she had a lot of pictures of her and Julia. I didn't see many of you.
You know what? She probably does, and I'm guilty of that. I can't.
You're too busy doing to take pictures, right?
Look, I'm out there just. I'm not Trish. I'm not. Don't take this wrong way. I'm more. That's not my 100% focus. Right?
I'm in trouble with both of y'all for saying that. Okay, I'm sorry. I retract with sackcloth and ashes.
But I think it's a good thing, and it's probably something I need to improve on.
Well, it was nice to see both of you guys. I mean, the impact that y'all have and the connections that you make that all benefit Central Louisiana, and really they benefit the real estate industry, which benefits people.
Well, when we had a good contention from the Central Louisiana realtors, there's about 15,000 realtors from Louisiana. I mean, the 15,000 realtors in Louisiana. We have about 500 of them here in Cenla, and we actually had a pretty good showing for those folks from Louisiana that were at the show, which was about 100 realtors from across the state. And David Moses from my office actually was there. Trish was there. President Rhonda Reap, she's Louisiana Realtors president this year. She's local. Our local association executive Angela Lavallee was there. So we had a really good showing. Actually, Sonia Moncrief, who's actually our local realtor president for the local association, was present, and so. We were well represented as far as the Louisiana delegation up there, and so it is a really, really informative and good deal to go to. But going back to local politics, going back to local economics, rather, I'm going to report on May 16th to May 31st. I've got some not so good news compared to last year. We did about $14.5 million in volume. In the last 2 weeks of May, 14,500,000, compared to 2024, same time period, we did about 27 million. Now, so I went and dug into that difference. Now we did have a couple large sales. We had like a $4 or $5 million sale that kind of throws that number off a little bit, but really we are down activity wise. There's more homes on the market today than there was in the last 6 years, pre-19.
Oh, okay.
And so
inventory is not an issue now.
Inventory's not an issue, and it's really if you're a buyer out there and you're wanting to buy, it's really a buyer's market in my opinion. Here locally, that's not the case in every market across the country, but here locally, I definitely believe we're seeing bigger discounts. We're seeing longer days on market, and we're talking about residential real estate now. Longer days on market, large, compared to list price versus sales price, you're seeing a bigger drop than you have in the last 6 years. And so that's just where we're at. At 7% interest rates, that's where we're at. I get asked all the time. I get several times this week, when are interest rates? What did they tell you and why you're in D.C. about interest rates? Well, what they told us was that we're going to be pretty stable throughout this year. 7, maybe high 6s is where we're going to be at. So if you're waiting for rates to drop into the 5s, probably not going to happen this year. So if you're out there on the fence trying to decide what to do, and you're really looking to buy and you're really looking to sell, I think you probably make a better deal today than you could have in the last couple of years.
Okay.
And then obviously if it's somewhere you want to stay long term, rates do drop. There's always the opportunity to refinance. So I would just tell you that's just kind of a really snapshot of where we're at.
But you're not necessarily promoting an adjustable rate mortgage.
I don't promote those.
Yeah,
I do not. I believe that I'd like to know exactly what my rates are going to be, because I've seen folks get into trouble. And on the commercial side, it happens a good bit, and that's what's happening in the commercial real estate industry right now, because most commercial terms are generally have a balloon. They may amortize them out for 15 or 20 years, but especially local banks and then bigger banks typically will only fix that rate for 5, maybe 6, 7 years tops. Even though it's amortized for a much longer term to get the note lower. And then what happens is you right now, 5 years ago, you could we locked in some 3.5, 3.75, 4% rates.
That's why the bank only wants to lock you in for
exactly.
5 years. So now the balloon comes up,
but that project or that income property that you bought in 2001, 2002, and you had a 4% interest rate, it now is 7%. 7.5%, maybe even 8%, depending on the LTV of the loan to value of the deal. So those 2 or 3 extra points can really turn an investment property upside down. It's one thing to make your home unaffordable, but when someone's buying a property strictly based off income and they need that income to support the debt service and all the other expenses that go along with it, it makes a huge difference. So long term, what's being discussed is you're going to see banks either starting to take things back as investors can't afford the deal anymore, can't afford it, or they're going to just have to work with the maybe go to an interest only level, maybe go to some type of workout plan, because the bank doesn't want the property back. The bank, that's the last thing the bank wants is to take a property back whatsoever. So we need to take a break. And we've got the largest transaction in the last 2 weeks we'll talk about.
Right back with more with Matt right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The May jobs report showed a better than expected 139,000 jobs added last month. The unemployment rate remains steady at 4.2%, but the prior 2 months were revised to show fewer gains. The revision removed 95,000 from the 2-month tally. Wall Street looks headed for a higher open this morning. President Donald Trump and Tesla CEO Elon Musk have stopped trading social media barbs, but the damage to Musk's business empire is clear. Tesla shares are up about 4% in pre-market trading, but lost 14% yesterday, wiping some $153 billion from Tesla's market value. Shares of Lululemon are showing some significant losses ahead of the open. The company posted a second straight disappointing quarter. The upscale athletic wear company also further cut its view for 2025, fueling concerns that rising competition and new tariffs are derailing Lululemon's growth plans. The move to further reduce its forecast surprised investors. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
So, June has finally arrived, and you don't have to have a thermometer to tell it's hot outside. Keep your home comfortable all year long with Southern Air. Now through the end of June, get a comprehensive AC tune-up for only $69 per system. Book your appointment by the 30th to lock in this special offer. Don't wait until your cooling system fails on the hottest day of the year. Act now, let us bear it. Visit southernairnow.com or call 318-777-5555.
Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer in men under 50 and the second leading cause of cancer death for women under 50. The American College of Radiology urges you to get screened, starting at age 45. Now, Medicare and insurance companies are required to cover not only colonoscopy, but less invasive exams like virtual colonoscopy. Talk to your doctor about your options. For more information on virtual colonoscopy, visit radiologyinfo.org/virtual CT.
There's no better description than to say St. Jude is a place of hope. My name is Lindsay. I'm alive today because of this incredible hospital and the generosity of so many who wanted to support it.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Good morning, a nice weekend stretching out ahead of us with sunny skies on our Friday. Afternoon highs near 95 degrees. We'll see winds out of the south-southwest at about 5 to 10. Now tonight, clear skies down to 76 with, we say basically clear skies. And then for Saturday, partly cloudy afternoon highs near 95. 94 the high for us on Sunday. Should be a good weekend. Today's your forecast from the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center. I'm Dick Grayson. Currently 79 degrees in Cenla.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK-BACK.
We welcome you back to Talkback. We've got the one, the only, the inimitable Matt Ritchie in the studio this morning, who is glad to take your call. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Matt.
Yeah, I got a couple real estate questions and a comment about carbon capture.
All right, come on.
What happened? What's the deal with the Mexican restaurants over by the Coliseum?
Oh, over behind on the corner of John Eskew and Versailles?
Yeah.
To my knowledge, it's going to be built. It's just they have 50 plus other restaurants in other markets that they're doing and they just, this one not that they had some construction. They had some fumbles on the construction side, and I think that just slowed them down, and they just moved to something else. But I believe you'll see a new restaurant there. Maybe not this year, but by next year.
Well, over in that same area, there's a big, in quotes, beautiful building going up.
Yeah.
Is that something to do with our friend Sam?
Yeah, yeah, that's Sam. The Sam Spurgeon Law Firm is going to be moving to that. As a matter of fact, I've reached out. We had a retail user that's looking to needs about 3,000 square feet. And so while I was in D.C. this trip, I had to get an email, somebody looking for that, and so they were looking for a particular area. So I reached out to Sam and I asked him when his building was going to be available, when he was going to be out of that space, because I've got somebody that may want to lease his space now. And he said September, so hopefully he'll be in there by September, which is only about 3 months away.
Yeah, well, I hope his legal troubles are over by then.
Yeah, we wish him all the best luck. He's I'm sure he's a fighter. He's a go-getter. I'm sure he'll be okay.
Now, as far as carbon capture goes, the last time I checked, the Chinese and the Indians, who were producing billions of tons of carbon dioxide every day, are not burying their carbon.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. They don't take it as seriously.
So they just put it in the air.
Well, the point being that why are we doing something that's just kind of a little bit of a mole in a molehill?
No, that's a good question. It's way over my head to be able to answer that, to be honest with you. I just don't know. I mean, obviously we all have opinions on why some of these things happen, but I just don't know, because I don't really know and understand the long-term effects. Because when you look at, I was talking to off the air, Nathan and I were talking. Baton Rouge is known as Cancer Alley, and that's well known. And look how much people move to Baton Rouge, and people move in that corridor and develop there every day. And it's a known cancerous area. And folks, and that's one of the largest oil refinery corridors in the United States. And so there's industry everywhere. There's industry. There's going to be some type of probably long-term effects that it's just going to take longer than we're probably going to be here alive to understand the repercussions of it.
Well, the basic premise on what's going on for this general central Louisiana is based on models, computer models. Computer models are only as good as the data that go into them.
No, I agree with that. Yes, no doubt. No doubt.
And a CEO with billions of dollars probably gets the model he wants.
Well, that's like feasibility studies. Most feasibility studies, and in our industry, folks order feasibility studies, whether it be to do a new retail store, maybe to do a new self-storage place. Most feasibility studies come back and tell you they can do it, because that's what you're paying them to get a positive report. But I don't disagree with you, but we appreciate you calling in and asking those questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate your call. 442-8255, 318-442-8255, the BOM talk line. I don't think I've said the number yet today, but most of our callers know it. So I'm glad to have you call in. Matt, we'll take your calls at any time. And let's continue on with what's happening.
The largest deal in the last 2 weeks was a 920 MacArthur Drive. It was actually the former Advanced Auto Parts right next to Outlaws Barbecue. And we had that for sale. It was built about 2005, 2006, right there. It sits on about an acre lot. It's about a 7,500 square foot building. A lot of those properties like that, when you see an Advanced or one of the big national brands that have thousands of stores, they're generally not owned by the tenant. They're generally owned by an individual or a REIT that buys those for their income stream. And this particular building was owned by Van Eversole, who actually is a partner of mine. I actually sold Van the building probably 6-7 years ago. And then Advanced Auto actually renewed the lease last year, and then they closed 500 stores. So they had about 2,400 stores across the country, and then last year they closed 500 stores. And we had two Advanced Auto Parts stores in Central Louisiana. We had one, that one on MacArthur Drive. We had one in Pineville on the corner, or at the end of Edgewood Drive and Highway 28 East. That one stayed open because that was a higher performing store than the one on MacArthur Drive. And so
there's not another one in Alexandria?
There's not another one in Alexandria. Right.
I didn't realize that.
That's it. And so they were still on the hook for the lease. So what we did was Van, we said, all right, well, obviously we can either let Advanced Auto just finish out their lease, which had like another 7 years left on it. And Van bought it for investment, for income stream. Or we can negotiate a buyout on the lease, which is what happened. We negotiated where actually they just discounted the value of the lease to buy it out now. So Van was actually able to collect that, and then we turned around and put on the market because I've always told him when he bought it, because he said, Matt, what happens in 10 years? He asked me this when he bought it 7 years ago. I said, well, it's a prime. It's one of the highest visible retail spots on MacArthur Drive.
Easy access to a red light there on Service Road.
Easy in and out. Yeah. I don't think you're ever going to have a problem with just the dirt value only alone, with the value there, after what you'd have, what your basis would be in it. And so, long story short, listed it for $1.4 million, sold it for $1,365,000. Gentleman out of Baton Rouge bought it, who owns some Asian restaurants. We thought it was going to be an Asian buffet. We now believe that what we've learned since we've closed, that it may be an Asian market.
Oh.
So it may not be a restaurant there, but it is going to be an Asian market. And so I don't know if he has those stores in other markets. Obviously, I don't think there's one here. I'm not aware of one. Actually,
I think there's next to
it's about Books A Million. Okay, yeah.
You're small.
When I was sitting there saying that, I was thinking about, over by Books A Million. Over by Lowe's off of North Drive. There is an Asian market, but so he's going to be opening up an Asian market there, and I'm not sure if it's just straight retail, if it's wholesale or what it is, but you will see that building put back in commerce, I would imagine, by the end of the year.
You would think retail with that location, wholesale would be on a back road or something. So let me ask you some terms. LoopNet.com has the listing, and it says modified NNN lease.
Okay.
So I'd like to know what NNN means. Okay. And then blended 122,000 NOI for remaining guaranteed term. So I'm going to put your CCIM to work.
Well, I wrote all that. So
I had a feeling.
So NNN means net.
Okay.
Right? So for instance, a property, a lot of commercial deals, especially corporate commercial leases, the tenant may just pay rent to the owner. The landlord receives the rent, but the tenant pays the insurance. It pays the property taxes. It pays any operation, any repairs, or anything else. So literally, the landlord is it's literally mailbox money.
Can I get a deal like that? That's a great deal.
Well, a lot of these corporate leases are like that.
Wow.
And so those who have those leases, they're not super common on just regular, what I call local tenants, because they're not that sophisticated. But they're in other markets, they're well, they're very common. And so when they come to, in our markets, they're used to doing it. So that's what they offer as well. And so there may be a tenant that says, you know what, I'm not going to pay your property taxes, but I will take care of the repairs and I will take care of the insurance. So that would be a net. And then there may be a situation where the tenant goes, you know what, I'm not going to pay your property taxes and I'm not going to pay your insurance, but I'll take care of any repairs that need to take place, which that would be a net. So net would be all three. That's kind of like hitting the jackpot. and then modified just means that you just, there's a thousand ways you can really craft a lease. And so we can get into those details.
We've got to take a break. Can you tell me what NOI is real fast?
Net operating income.
There we go. All right, back with more with Matt right after this, and your calls on the BOM Talkline, 318-442-8255.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you
today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the whoops. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products in next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Feeling overwhelmed? Louisiana 988 can provide immediate emotional support. You can share as much or as little as you want with specialists. Everything you say stays between you and them. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
Your local radio company is Cenla Broadcasting. We're all about local.
The Junior League of Alexandria is an organization of women committed to promoting volunteerism, developing the potential of women, and improving communities through the effective action and leadership of trained volunteers. Our Junior League awards scholarships to girls, grants to nonprofit organizations, and has operated the New to You thrift shop since the 1940s. Learn more at jlalexandria.com.
This has been a public service reminder from Cenla Broadcasting.
80 million listeners depend on AM radio to always be on, delivering news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports you can trust. AM radio also delivers vital emergency information when you need it most. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Freedom from drug addiction happens in NA meetings. It is possible to stop using drugs, and they can help. Call Narcotics Anonymous at 1-585-DON'T-USE or visit their website at larna.org for more information.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
Well, we're back to Cenla Talkback Economic Development, Economic Update, not development, Economic Update. And we've got a caller on the line. Good morning. You're on the line with Matt Ritchie. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Going once. Caller, are you there? Going twice. All right. Well, call back if it didn't work out. 318-442-8255. Matt, let's continue on with your notes.
You asked me, and I just one of my favorite topics, because I'm commercial real estate is that's kind of my wheelhouse, right? So, NOI, net operating income. When it comes to, and we could do a 6-month show on net operating income. I mean, really, because when you're dealing with investment property, that's really all that matters. The property can generate, $1 billion, but if the expenses are $999 million, and you've only got, your net operating income is $1 million. That's the value of that's what you're assessing the value of it. And so I see so many people that are, and I think it has everything to do with education, that they want to sell their property, or they want to list their property, or they may even be buying. Let's flip this up. They may be buying or looking at a property, and they don't know and they don't understand, well, this property's bringing in, let's just say $1,000 a month. And they go, well, look, I can pay this because the seller's going, I want this for it. Well, it's bringing in, well, what's the true NOI? What's the property taxes? What's the insurance? What doesn't count debt. NOI does not. Okay. Debt does not, or debt service does not come into play with NOI, because if you're borrowing money and I'm paying cash, or vice versa, or if you got somebody that's paying cash and I'm borrowing, that doesn't make a difference because that just depends on how you get the money. But if you're borrowing, you certainly want to know that you have enough net operating income to be able to service the debt.
Right.
Because the net operating income is your net number after all the expenses.
That's what you use. Yeah, that's great to know.
So that's how you want, when you value, and that's just a really, really simple way to look and approach an investment property when it comes to that.
Good information. Let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning. You're on the line with Matt Ritchie. Yeah. Oh, did you hear that?
I did hear that.
We lost the call. We lost the call. 318-442-8255. That's we're 0 for 2 in the last 2 calls.
Well, I'm looking at my notes, and I had to mention this. It seems like after the last show, I'm going to talk about the Power Center. I'm going to talk about there was a post, and I think Wayne Mullins either created it or he shared it. One of the two. Wayne Mullins with Ugly Mug Marketing. A guy floating out in a pothole at the Power Center in front of Javi Pease, I believe.
I texted that to you also.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that's right.
You did.
That was making the rounds.
It was, and then I followed it, and it was shared, and it was so funny, but almost like I'm hoping that got to the ownership somehow. Because it was just very, 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 very funny post, and I just want to mention that we do. I think
mentioned that in the context of
it's going to take that kind of politicizing and publicizing to get to the ownership and hopefully do something about it. Because look, fixing that parking lot is not going to be a cheap fix. Right. I figured whenever because we bid on the property, they actually beat us out of it, me and a partner, and that we figured that was the first thing I was going to do was fix the parking lot. If I would have bought it, I was going to fix the parking lot, and I figured it was going to cost somewhere about $700,000-$800,000 to do that, to do a really nice 2-inch overlay. Fix the bad areas, and
that's part of the feasibility study you would have done.
Well, that's part of your due diligence, right. Yeah. And also that number would come into play because when I'm factoring, trying to calculate what my NOI would be, that number's going to make a big difference. So, so we talked about the largest sale, which was the Advanced Auto Parts, $1,360,000. Van Bar LLC out of Natchitoches sells to Central Buffet out of Baton Rouge. Had a residential sale. I thought was going to be the largest. It is the largest residential sale. Almost $900,000 on in the Lake District, lot 125 of the Lake District sells for $897,000. And then we had another sale. I just thought it was interesting. I'm mentioning it. It's on Marie Street, 2116 Marie Street. It was a $367,000 sale. And the only reason I mention that is because that's a Garden District sale.
Right.
And I think that's a healthy Garden District sale for as far as comp. So, and then most of Marie Street, depending on, Chester Street and North, and I don't want anybody that lives between Chester and Bolton, I don't want to disparage their property values, but obviously you got bigger houses, larger lots going from Chester to Elliott, Texas, and so you would see those type of values through there. So, but you just don't see those very often. I just want to mention for all our Garden District folks.
Got to take our last break of the hour. Can't believe it's here. We'll be back with the final segment with Matt Ritchie and the Cenla Economic Update right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
You too could have a beautiful smile in as little as 12 weeks. Exclusive to Today's Dental in Pineville, Virtual Align Clear Aligners. The fastest, most convenient, affordable way to straighten your teeth for people on the go. Plus, they're invisible. No one will know you're doing it. Experience the Virtual Align difference. Call Today's Dental at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. 448-4540.
Teens are using social media to buy what they think are prescription pills, like Oxy, Xanax, or Adderall. But these pills are actually made with a cheaper, stronger, and more deadly synthetic called fentanyl. You cannot see it, smell it, or taste it. Naloxone and fentanyl testing strips are available for free through many community service organizations to help prevent opioid overdose. Carry naloxone and know the signs of an overdose. If you or a loved one needs help, go to opioidhelpla.org. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Blind? Low vision? Eyesight changing? You are not alone. Connecting with blind and low vision people can provide support and expand your understanding of what is possible. We are making our own choices every day, but we are also stronger together. To learn more, visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Teachers are diverse, skilled leaders, innovating to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Teaching shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org, supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Now back to Talkback.
It's the final countdown. Matt Ritchie, what you got? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Largest construction project recorded in the last 2 weeks was the City of Pineville to Womack Sons Construction Group for the Pineville-Huffman Creek Pump. It's about a little over $11 million project, and I think the general public doesn't realize that, Nathan, when you start thinking about, sewer pumps and creeks, and I mean that's just one particular pump. How many in Pineville? Would you know? Do you know that?
About lift stations is about 100, but 100. Those bigger pumps are like about 12, I think.
So 12. So think about the magnitude of the kind of dollars it takes for that to happen. And so this one is a little over $11 million. It's expensive to keep up infrastructure.
That's one we've been working on for a long time. It's just every time we bid it, it takes more money. So glad to get that one under contract.
Largest mortgage actually was on the Pineville side of the river. That happened in the last 2 weeks. Was a group, Misty Hollow investors out of Baton Rouge, to Greystone Funding for about $5.3 million. I would think that property is worth a lot more than $5.3 million, but that's what they mortgaged, and they did that. Okay. And it also is interesting that they did that in a time where interest rates are where they're at today. But as we talked about earlier, it was most likely when they bought it, there was a 5-6 year, there was a balloon note due, and it came up, and now they're having to refinance it. I can't believe that's in the show. This went fast. It went so fast, Nathan. Man, I appreciate you having me on this morning. Let me make up my show from Tuesday. I will be on my regular scheduled third Tuesday show for June.
And I look forward to being with you that morning as well. And hopefully by then, Stephen Maxwell will be in the rotation. So we'll let everybody know about that. Big changes taking place. So, callers, we're sorry we couldn't take your calls as we just simply ran out of time. Thank you very much. Hey, don't forget LSU is in the Super Regional coming up tomorrow, 1 o'clock, I believe, is their game time. And you'll hear it right here on KSYL.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenla Broadcasting.
FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 9 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. A standoff between President Trump and the richest man in the world isn't over yet. Sparks flew yesterday when Elon Musk suggested Mr. Trump is in the Jeffrey Epstein files and ought to be impeached. Correspondent Nancy Cordes.
Trump is talking to reporters by phone this morning, telling them that Musk has a problem and that he has no plans to speak to Musk by phone anytime soon. And sources here at the White House tell us that the red Tesla that has been parked here on White House grounds for weeks, they say, well, now Trump is considering selling it.
The president has also threatened to end government contracts with Musk's business enterprises. CBS's Jolene Kent.
There's billions of dollars and services at stake here. Elon Musk's SpaceX has received tens of billions of dollars from the federal government over the last decade. We're talking about $3.8 billion just last year. Another Musk company that is, of course, very important is Tesla, America's largest electric vehicle maker. Tesla gets huge subsidies from the federal government.
Musk has since pulled back on a threat to decommission spacecraft that NASA is counting on for upcoming trips. The Dow is rallying after a stronger than expected monthly jobs report amid fears tied to Trump tariffs. Economist Stephen Juneau.
Job growth is slowing a little bit. Over the last 3 months, we've added just an average of 135,000, but that's really not all that bad considering things. So we're not seeing a sharp slowdown.
Dow right now up 529 points. In Kyiv, they're cleaning up after one of Russia's largest aerial attacks of the 3-year war. Ukrainian officials say at least 3 emergency responders were killed. The BBC's Paul Adams from Kyiv.
In the capital, residents took shelter as air defenses tackled waves of drones and missiles. Over the course of several hours, we heard large explosions and the regular rattle of machine gun fire as the city's air defenses worked frenetically.
Russia says it was responding to Ukraine's drone attacks on its air bases Sunday. Normandy, France now. They're marking the day 81 years ago. U.S. and Allied soldiers landed on the beach for the final chapter of World War II. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth delivered remarks at the cemetery where thousands are buried.
As I stare at that flag, we are forever grateful to the French government for dedicating this land as a resting place for our men.
The S&P is ahead 66, NASDAQ up 230. This is CBS News.
A word from Progressive Insurance. Life can be hard, so Progressive can make bundling your home and auto easy. Hope that helps. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Sean Burns. A massive nutrition reform bill is on the governor's desk now. The bill bans certain artificial colors and additives in meals served in schools. And author of the bill, Covington Republican Patrick McMath, says certain medical professionals will be required to take a course on nutrition and metabolic health every 2 years.
Given how important it is for the things that we put in our body and how it relates to chronic illness, chronic disease, you would think that doctors would have a solid base of education on nutrition, and they simply don't.
If the sky outside seems hazy and brown this weekend, you're not imagining it. It'll be the result of dust particles from the Sahara Desert. Associate Professor of Coastal Meteorology at LSU, Paul Miller, says that'll affect air quality.
There are these natural sources of particulates in the atmosphere. And so whenever those concentrations get pretty heavy, then that can start to trigger respiratory symptoms among people that maybe struggle with asthma, something like that.
LRN.
Timeout. All right. Remember,
race together. Listen, the winning will take care of itself. We just have to